They called it the oven, 150 tons of silver-gray steel that promised to save the British Empire, but instead, it nearly boiled its crew alive in the pitch-black suffocation of a tunnel. This is not just a story about a train, it is the chronicle of a man who tried to cheat time, a man who built a masterpiece that the world was already too tired to understand. They say the future arrives in many forms, but for Oliver Bulleid, the future arrived disguised as a magnificent, heartbreaking failure. Chapter 1. The Ghost of the Empire. The year is 1946. Imagine a Britain draped in the heavy, gray exhaustion of a post-war hangover. The victory bells have long since stopped ringing, and in their place is the harsh, cold reality of a broken economy. The streets are still scarred by the Blitz. And the railways, the very veins of the nation, are crumbling. Coal is expensive, maintenance is a nightmare, and in the distance, you can hear a new clinical sound, the rhythmic, emotionless hum of the American diesel engines. To the world, the age of steam is dead. It's a relic of the Victorians, a dirty, puffing ghost that needs to be laid to rest. But in the heart of the Brighton works, one man refuses to believe in ghosts. Oliver Bulleid. He's in his 60s now, a man with the eyes of a poet and the hands of a blacksmith. He has spent his life listening to the heartbeat of locomotives. To the bureaucrats in London, he is a nuisance. To his engineers, he is a visionary. Tonight, he is alone in his office, and he is about to start a war against the inevitable. Imagine the sound of his pencil, not just drawing, but attacking the paper. He looks at the blueprints of the past, those iconic engines with their spinning wheels and smoking chimneys, and he sees weakness. He sees a machine that has to stop every few hours just to turn around. He sees a machine that wastes heat. He sees a machine that is losing the race. Bulleid mutters to himself as he erases a traditional wheel arrangement. "You won't be a slave to the turntable anymore," he whispers. "I will give you 2 heads. I will give you a skin of steel. You'll breathe through your center, and you will show them that steam isn't finished. Not yet." As he lights a cigarette, the smoke curls around his drawing. In that flickering yellow light, the blueprint of the leader seems to vibrate. It doesn't look like a train. It looks like a submarine designed to sail through the hills of England. It is radical. It is dangerous. And it is about to change everything, or destroy it all. Chapter 2. The Boardroom Battle. A few months later, the air in the British Railways boardroom is thick with the smell of expensive mahogany and the cold cynicism of men who care more about balance sheets than breakthroughs. Arthur Jarrett, a man who views the world in black ink and red tape, sits at the head of the table. He holds the confidential folder for Project Leader as if it were a piece of evidence in a crime. Jarrett looks up, his voice as sharp as a razor. "Oliver, let's be honest. The Americans are building diesels that start with the flick of a switch. No 3-hour warm-up, no soot, no soul perhaps, but they work. And you want us to fund this? A steam engine in a tuxedo? It's a fantasy." Bulleid doesn't sit. He stands, his shadow stretching across the maps of the British rail network. "It is not a tuxedo, Arthur. It's an exoskeleton, total enclosure. I am building a machine that produces 1,000 degrees of steam at the touch of a lever. It will outrun, outpull, and outlast any oil-drinking toy they're building in Chicago. You want efficiency? I'll give you a machine that never has to stop to turn around. We aren't just building a locomotive. We are saving an industry that belongs to us." "The board wants cleanliness, Oliver," Jarrett retorts. "Coal is filthy. Coal is the 19th century clinging to the hem of the 20th. Bulleid leans in, his voice dropping to a low, intense growl.
This is
"Coal
the
is
only
British,
way forward.
Arthur.
I've
It's under
shown
our
you the
feet.
projections,
It's
the
our blood.
possibilities.
Give me
We
5
must take
prototypes.
this leap,
Build them
or
in
we risk
secret.
everything."
Let the public see it only when the race is already won. When the diesel is nothing but a footnote in the history of our triumph." Jarrett looks at the sketches. Even he can see the terrifying beauty of the design. He sighs. The sound of a man making a deal with a devil he doesn't quite trust.
The thermodynamics here are unprecedented.
5. Not a
We've
penny
pushed the
more.
boundaries of
And listen to
cryogenic
me,
cooling
Oliver.
further than
If this
anyone
thing
thought
doesn't
possible.
perform, It won't just be the engine that goes to the scrap heap. I'll make sure your name is erased from every station in this country. Chapter 3. The Secret City. And so, the Brighton Works becomes a temple of secrecy. The workers there are used to iron and oil, but they've never seen anything like the monster growing in the assembly shed. It's 1948. The factory is a cacophony of hammers and arc welders. Sparks rain down like a permanent celebration of the industrial age. Massive chains lower a complex bogie system into a specialized oil bath. It looks more like a tank than a train. The workers whisper in the corners during their tea breaks. They point at the central corridor, a narrow, claustrophobic tunnel running the entire length of the engine. "Where's the chimney, then?" one worker asks, wiping grease from his brow. "I've been looking for 3 days." His mate shakes his head. "Hidden, like a secret." Bulleid says she doesn't need to show her guts to the world. She doesn't look like steam. She looks like the future. Bulleid is a ghost in his own factory. He doesn't sleep. He's in the pits, he's on the scaffolding. He is obsessed with the idea that the crew should be protected. He wants them inside, away from the rain and the wind. He wants them to be able to walk from one end of the engine to the other, while moving at 90 miles per hour. He thinks he is being kind. He doesn't realize he is building a wind tunnel. He doesn't realize he is building a metal coffin.
Yes,
Chapter
it's
4.
definitely unauthorized.
The Unveiling, November 3rd, 1949, Brighton Station. The air is crisp, and a cold wind bites at the hundreds of spectators gathered on the platform. A brass band plays Land of Hope and Glory, but the music feels thin against the massive, silent shape covered in a royal blue velvet sheet. Oliver Bulleid stands on the podium. He looks tired, his face lined with the stress of 3 years of secret labor. But his eyes are
right
electric.
Here. It's often
"Ladies and
missed
gentlemen,"
because of the
he
weathering,
announces,
but it's
his
critical
voice
for
echoing through the
airflow.
station speakers. Historians will look back at this day. They will see the moment when the British steam engine reclaimed its throne. "I give you the leader!" He pulls the cord. The velvet falls. There is no cheering at first. There is only a collective gasp of disbelief. It is a silver-gray monolith. It is smooth, devoid of any visible moving parts. It looks like a single block of polished steel that has fallen from the stars. A reporter nearby scribbles furiously, "A revolution in steel, a spaceship on tracks." But in the back of the crowd, Arthur Jarrett stands with his arms crossed. He isn't clapping. He is watching the shimmering heat already rising from the vents on top, even though the engine is just idling. He smells something, not just the familiar scent of coal, but the acrid, burning smell of hot oil and scorched paint. The beast is awake, and it is already angry. Chapter 5. The Dance of the Titan. The test runs begin. Inside cab number 1, Bill Hawkins, a veteran driver with skin like leather, grips the regulator. His young fireman, Jack Miller, is already sweating. The cab is cramped. It's enclosed. It feels like being inside a submarine. "Ready, Jack?" Bill asks. "Let's see if this lady can actually dance, or if she's just a pretty face." Bill pulls the regulator. The sound is wrong. It isn't the rhythmic chuff-chuff that every railman in England has known since they were boys. It's a low-pitched, mechanical roar. The chain-driven bogies bite the rail with a ferocity that throws Jack back against the coal bunker. The leader accelerates, 40, 60, 80, 90 miles per hour. From the outside, it is a miracle. It glides across the green English countryside like a silver bullet. No oscillation, no vibration. It is the fastest, smoothest steam engine ever built. But inside, the dream is starting to melt. Jack wipes a river of sweat from his eyes. "She's fast, Bill. God, she's fast. It's like an electric." Bill doesn't smile. He's staring at the walls of the cab. The paint is beginning to blister and peel. He reaches out to touch a lever and flinches as if he's touched a hot stove. "She's holding her breath, Jack. Can't you feel it? There's nowhere for the heat to go." He touches the steel bulkhead. It's scorching. The enclosed design, meant to be aerodynamic, has turned the locomotive into a giant thermos, and the men inside are being cooked. Chapter 6. The Tunnel of Suffocation. This is the moment where the tragedy turns into a nightmare. It is a humid afternoon, and deep inside the central corridor of the leader, 6 draftsmen are huddled. They are there to monitor the gauges, to prove to the board that the engine is a success. They are surrounded by clipboards and thermometers. The temperature inside the corridor hits 110 degrees, then 120. They've stripped off their shirts, their skin slick with a mixture of sweat and a fine mist of oil leaking from the internal gears. The oil bath. It's failing, one draftsman gasps. I can smell the gears grinding. The air, another says, his voice weak. It's not moving. It's like breathing hot lead. And then they hit the crowbar tunnel. Suddenly, the physics of the engine betray them. Because the boiler is offset and the corridor is narrow, a vacuum effect is created. Instead of the smoke going out the chimney, the pressure difference in the tunnel sucks the toxic, sulfurous exhaust directly into the central corridor. The world goes black. The only light comes from the orange glow of the dials. I can't breathe, a man screams. He starts coughing, a deep, hacking sound that fills the narrow space. Panic sets in. 6 men scramble in the dark. They hit the walls, but the walls are 140 degrees now. They are burning their hands just trying to stay upright. Open the door! Get us out of here! It's jammed! The heat, the metal has expanded the frame. We're locked in. They are trapped in a vibrating metal coffin, 150 tons of screaming steel hurtling through the dark, filled with the stench of sulfur and the taste of death. Every breath they take is a lungful of poison. They are being boiled and suffocated at the same time. Smiles from help inside the future of British engineering. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. The leader eventually shudders to a halt on the other side of the tunnel. The doors are pried open. The draftsmen are pulled out, vomiting, their faces a sickly shade of gray-green, their eyes bloodshot. They collapse on the gravel, gasping for the cool English air as if it were a miracle. Oliver Bulleid arrives in his motor car, his coat flapping in the wind. He doesn't look at the men on the ground. He rushes to the engine. What happened? Was it the bogies? Tell me the steam pressure held. Bill Hawkins steps off the footplate, dripping sweat, his shirt stuck to his ribs. He looks at Bulleid with a mixture of pity and pure, unadulterated rage. It wasn't the machinery, Oliver. It was the men. You built a machine for gods. But you forgot you were asking human beings to run it. Jack is passed out in the cab. These men nearly died in there. You can't run a railway if you kill the crew every time you go through a tunnel. Bulleid touches the hot metal of the engine, his hand trembling. We can fix the ventilation, Bill. We can lag the pipes. We can make adjustments.
The fire is spreading.
You can't lag the sun, Oliver,
Get out of here.
Bill says, his voice heavy with finality. She's a furnace in a tin box. She's a beautiful, brilliant, murderous mistake. Chapter 8. The Death of a Dream. The Brighton Works maintenance shed is a quiet place now. The sound of the brass band is a distant memory. The leader sits in the shadows, and she looks less like a spaceship and more like a carcass. Black oil leaks from her underside, pooling on the concrete like blood from a slow-killing wound. Bulleid is underneath her, covered in grease, his face smeared with the soot of 1,000 failed tests. He's trying to tighten a bolt on the complex chain drive, but his hands won't stop shaking. The wrench slips. He barks his knuckles, and for the first time, he doesn't swear. He just leans his forehead against the oily steel and breathes. Damn you, he whispers. Why won't you just work with me?
We have to get
Because
this open
she's
now.
a nightmare, Oliver.
It's giving way.
Bulleid looks
Look out,
up.
there's smoke.
Arthur Jarrett is standing there, silhouetted by the moonlight coming through the high windows. He's holding a thick stack of reports. Every hour she spends on the track, she spends 10 in here, Jarrett says. The oil is leaking into the firebox. The gears are stripping. And the unions? They've officially blacklisted the engine. No fireman in England will step foot in that cab. They call her the oven. And frankly, they're right. Innovation requires sacrifice, Arthur, Bulleid cries, standing up, his eyes wild. No, Jarrett says coldly. Innovation requires results. While you've been chasing this ghost, the new Class 40 diesels have been breaking records. They work, every time. They don't boil their crews, and they don't leak oil like a wounded whale. Those things, Bulleid shouts, they have no soul. They're just boxes with motors. There's no poetry in them.
Vitals are stable for now.
The railway doesn't need poetry, Oliver.
please.
It needs to run on time. Jarrett lays a single sheet of paper on the workbench. It's the death warrant. Effective immediately. Project leader is canceled. All 5 units are to be moved to the scrapyard. We're cutting our losses. Bulleid looks at the paper. Scrapped? No. Give them to me. I'm going to Ireland. I can fix them there. I can make them work. Jarrett doesn't even look back as he walks away. Go home, Oliver. It's over. The era of steam didn't just end today. It died a long time ago. You were just the last person to notice. Chapter 9. The Scrap Heap of History. A few weeks later, Bill and Jack stand at the factory gates. They watch as a massive crane begins to tear the streamlined silver shell off the first Leader prototype. As the skin is ripped away, the revolutionary boiler is exposed. Without its futuristic armor, it looks small. It looks naked. It looks like what it always was, an old technology trying to pretend it was something new. I really thought we were going to change things, Bill, Jack says quietly. I thought we were the future. Bill watches the crane swing. We did change things, lad. We learned the hardest lesson there is. You can't make a horse fly just by giving it wings. You just end up with a very confused horse and a long way to fall. They turn and walk away into the fog. In the distance, a sharp, clean, clinical horn blares. It's a diesel. It's efficient. It's cold. And it's exactly what the world wanted. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Failure. The rain falls on locomotive number 36,001 in the scrapyard. The silver paint is peeling in long, ugly strips. Rust is blooming across the nose like a slow-moving disease. Oliver Bulleid stands at the chain-link fence, an old man now, his coat buttoned tight against the chill. He looks at his creation one last time. The engine looks back with its twin-cab windows, dark, empty eyes that seem to stare into a future it wasn't allowed to see. Bulleid tips his hat,
This isn't just
not to
steel
the
and
machine,
diesel.
but
It
to the
has
dream.
A soul.
You were beautiful,
living, breathing
he whispers to
soul.
the wind. You were just born into a world that had grown too tired to dream with you. But here is the final twist in the story of the Leader. History has a funny way of remembering. Bulleid's failure didn't actually fail. The world thought he was mad, but look at the high-speed trains of today. Look at the twin cabs. Look at the bi-directional running. Look at the streamlined bodies and the advanced bogie systems. Bulleid's DNA is in every Eurostar, every Shinkansen, every TGV that flies across the continents. He wasn't wrong about the future. He was just 40 years too early. He tried to build the 21st century using the tools of the 19th. The Leader was a disaster. It was dangerous, it was flawed, and it was a financial ruin. But it was also a spark of pure, uncompromising genius. It reminds us that progress is not a straight line. It is a messy, painful, and sometimes scorching journey. So the next time you see a sleek modern train gliding silently into a station, remember the man who stood in the rain at Brighton. Remember the men who suffocated in the Crowbar Tunnel. And remember that sometimes the future doesn't arrive with a bang or a cheer. Sometimes it arrives disguised as a failure, waiting for the rest of us to catch up. The final fade. By 1968, steam had completely vanished from the British railways. The magnificent puffing giants were replaced by the hum of the electric and the roar of the diesel. Oliver Bulleid passed away in 1970, having never seen his Leader succeed. But as the silent silver trains of today pull out of London St. Pancras, one can't help but feel that somewhere, in the great workshop in the sky, Oliver is finally smiling. Because in the end, he didn't just build a train. He built the blueprint for the world we live in now. The age of steam is dead, but the spirit of the Leader, that is immortal.